All right, all right. Hey, hello everybody. We're just finishing up a little Golden State Warriors loss, and my buddy Mike Baltz is here. Hello, I'm Garrett. We
What
just
up?
watched a bad game again, Baltz. What do you say?
I mean, two losses to the Warriors. The Warriors will always do that thing where they keep you in it for three quarters, two and a half, and then kind of kick it into high gear. Steph Curry was like 1 of 8 in the first half, and then we gave him a wide open three at the top of the third quarter, which should never happen. And now we lost. And it wasn't really as close as it looked at the end. We started coming back there at the end, and then just a bunch of really bad turnovers, not boxing out on rebounds. A lot of the same. But my
A
first
lot of the
question:
same.
where is D'Lo?
Right. Where is Zelo? He's missed his third game in a row. Why? Why
For
has he missed
rest,
his third game?
rest.
Yeah,
No,
where is he? We could sure use him. Thankfully, we've had Beasley picking up the scoring slack. And what I liked about tonight, without a D'Lo, is Anthony Edwards finally stepped up. He finished with 25 points, uh,
yeah, what was he like 5 for 6 from three?
5 for 8 from three. But he did have a good 3-point shooting for the first half of the game. I think he missed quite a few in the second half.
He had some great drives in the first half. He was cutting through traffic and finishing, which is nice to see because he's had problems finishing. He can get there, but he can't always finish. So
I
that
would
was nice.
say he definitely still has some problems finishing. He was 9 for 19.
Yeah,
There
and I
were a
think that
lot of misses.
a lot of that was at the end of the game, because at one point he was shooting very well, and at the end he kind of just disappeared a little bit. But overall, I think you didn't get to see all the first half, and it was a brick show. Like the
Yeah.
Warriors gave us an opportunity. We could have had a huge lead because they weren't hitting shots in the first quarter either, but we had no offense in the first quarter.
Yeah, I did catch the end of the second quarter and most of the third quarter before my shit fell apart. But what I did like to see was how Anthony Edwards played some defense one on one against Steph Curry in that third quarter. He let it be known it was kind of back and forth between the two of them for a while. Unfortunately, Steph Curry is Steph Curry, and he made some threes there right in his face. But the dude wasn't afraid, and he had some good defensive energy and effort for sure, and kind of showed it being able to score 25 points in the game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't know if it's a plan. It's more like switching, but like it seems like these last two games, Jared Vanderbilt keeps getting switched off onto Steph Curry. And Vanderbilt is a pretty good team defender, but he's like almost too jittery to defend an individual person, especially someone like Steph Curry. And so he's just like always jumping around, and Curry's just like barely has to flinch, and Vanderbilt's like 8 feet off of him.
He
And it's
definitely. Oh, go ahead.
not going to work. And I was just going to say that's not going to work.
He definitely plays a little bit more out of control, I would say. He needs to calm his ass down and get himself in a good basketball position defensively and not jump all around and give him a easy head shake and open shot. Not just Steph Curry does that to him, other players have in the past too.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my overall notes from the first Warriors game from a couple nights back. The Wolves their young guys are making all these hustle plays, but one thing, there's two things about those hustle plays. Number one, some of the time that leads to out of control plays, and that's Beasley, that's Vanderbilt, that's pretty much everyone. But also they're not doing the basics, like just not boxing people out,
No.
like on basic rotations. And if you're a young guy in the league, I mean, I think Jim Peterson said pretty much this exact same thing, but like, if you want to get playing time, box out, do very basic things. And coaches will want to see that even more than you diving on the floor for a ball that you're probably not going to get. And that's been a huge issue. As well as the Wolves shooting, like in the game 2 nights ago, they posted this stat where like the Wolves are second in the league in shots by the basket. Where like we get a lot of shots close to the basket. We are 27th in field goal percentage close to the hoop. And you imagine that even if we got to 15th, we probably have 3 more wins, 4 more wins.
We are one of the worst teams at finishing at the rim, and we're focused on driving it to the rim for an easy slam dunk, except we're not getting an easy slam dunk or a layup. It does show that this philosophy of not going for mid-range shots is actually hurting us, right?
Absolutely.
But if D'Lo was there, he's a master at the 2-point mid-range shot. So where is he? Why isn't he playing?
Yeah, I don't understand it. They said the first game was for rest. Yeah. So he got a little rest. Where is he now? Like, bring him back. I don't understand unless we are trying to tank. But, like, again, we've talked about this before. Unless you're going to be the worst team by record at the end of the season, you have no chance of staying in the top 3, or very little chance with how it's set up now. People are going to jump you, and you're going to lose the pick anyways. So at that point, just try and win some games.
Plus, how many years do we want to start saying we had the number 1 overall pick? You know, after you get it once with Anthony and then with Carl, why do you need to do it anymore? You should have a solid foundation. Let's start coaching these guys up and getting them ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are bummed because, of course, the Timberwolves moved up to number 1 pick in one of the weakest drafts of the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
And then next year, they're going to allow high schoolers to jump in, and it's going to be one of the best drafts ever, possibly.
But possibly, too, if we had to trade the pick, does that mean maybe we try to trade up and get somebody of value in that middle first round, a 19-year-old that turns into a star player, you know?
Well, the thing is,
it's going to be a deep draft, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, but there's 2 problems. Number 1, the Wolves don't have a first-round pick right now.
Yes.
And 2, teams are not going to want to trade their first-round picks, even if it's 28 this season. Like, you're going to have to give them something good for that, because everybody knows that this draft is deep. At the end of the first round, you can get at least a reliable rotation player, if not someone that could become a superstar. And the Wolves might miss out on that. But I still just don't think you can tank unless you're going all in tanking, and that's going to make for a long extra season for Wolves fans this year.
It makes for a long extra season, but also I think they can make that call within the next week. If we just keep losing games and you're going to bench D'Angelo for the next week, like, what is the reason? How long is Cat on COVID? I sure hope he's feeling better. I don't know. I hope that if he had it, that he doesn't, that he's able to recover. But how long does he sit out then, you know?
I mean, based on how he was playing and our strength of schedule, I mean, I would assume we'd be close to 500 this season if Cat had played every game. And that's just sad because, I mean, he's our Steph Curry. He's not exactly like Steph Curry, but, like, he draws a gravity to him, which helps everyone else.
And look at what happened to them last year when Steph was out and Klay Thompson was out. They were the second worst team in the league, you know?
Yeah. And, like, we got all these shooters now, but they need the spacing that Cat provides. And because you put Cat on the left side block, whatever, he draws 2 defenders. Now all of a sudden the lane is kind of open for other people to drive and kick. You got 3-point shooters open. But we got to talk about some positives, which mostly surround Ant tonight and the other night, because we got to talk about the dunk. The
Yes.
dunk that he had last game was amazing. And as I was telling you before we started this, if you watch the broadcast, at least the Wolves broadcast, you got to hear Ed Davis, while the dunk was happening, yell, "Cook his ass!" And it made my night. I watched that dunk probably 30 times since that happened.
That's funny. I love when you can, because it's so quiet in the arena, you can really hear everything that's said.
Oh, yeah.
Whose ass was he asking to cook?
I don't know, because Edwards went through a couple people. I can't
Wow.
remember who it was. It might have been Wiseman. I think it was Wiseman that was kind of close to the hoop that he went by. But yeah, that was an all-time dunk, and that was cool. And then going forward to tonight, Edwards shot the 3-ball well, was weaving through traffic. What else did I write down? I think both him and Wiseman were like, okay, you're the second pick, you're the first pick, let's do this. And they were kind of the two stars tonight for either team. Ant disappeared a little bit early or late in the game, and that's something that he's got to pick up, because it's tough out there, but like, our problem at the end of games is that we got one guy dribbling and 4 guys standing around every time. It's like we run offense in the first half and then we stop in the second half. And you just got to keep moving, like, especially since we're the youngest team in the league.
Yeah.
If I'm Saunders, I'm like, you are never staying anywhere. Unless you're Cat, you're moving all the time. No more staying still anywhere.
I agree, man. And I think that they have the talent to run the floor more with Ricky Rubio, bringing off the bench, being able to push the ball with him in the second unit. It should be pretty easy for them to move a lot faster than they do and not have to play this one-on-one isolation basketball or dribble handoff that they run a lot.
That's another thing to talk about altogether. What has happened to Rubio?
Well,
it was like the story of the offseason. Besides us getting the number 1 pick, everyone was so excited because Rubio was on paper the perfect backup point guard.
Well, he has been everything but the perfect backup so far this year. Tonight he had 5 points, 5 assists. That's not good.
Even outside of the numbers, he just has not looked right. And like, he's constantly dribbling into the paint. Like,
when he used to pass the ball when he dribbled into the paint, he's now doing this scoop shot a lot or a drive to the basket to get the foul. It blows my mind.
I do think a little part of the problem, but should still be rectified, is that like Rubio does this thing where he drives behind the hoop or he just drives into traffic and then kicks it out. Well, all of our players are just standing around with their thumbs in their asses.
Yeah.
And he's got no one to kick it to. And it's like, you got to have some movement, some kind of play, because that can work. But he had, I don't know, how many turnovers did he have tonight?
He had just 3 turnovers. He was a minus 15.
It felt like he had 20 turnovers tonight. And just the last couple games, he's been doing that. And, yeah.
Well, he hasn't been making the smart play as often as he used to, or the amazing pass. I haven't seen it happen yet this year that he's known for. He is making the bonehead play of driving it to the basket for a shitty layup or taking a really flat 3. Like, I thought his shot had improved in Utah for sure. And last year in Phoenix, he was better. But this year, that flat shot that he has come back, And I don't know if it's because he's pressing, he has some confidence, but he's lost he thinks he can make shots that he shouldn't be taking,
Yeah, and you would think, like, they were talking about it tonight in the broadcast. Like, Rubio is a career, like, 80% free throw shooter. And usually, historically, if you're a good free throw shooter, eventually your jump shot comes around. And it's just crazy that his jump shot has never come around.
No.
I mean, I don't understand it at all.
And if he's going to play, the jump shot hasn't been his signature move. It's his passing and it's his defense. And we haven't seen that at all this year in a capacity that can help the team, only hurt it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a bright spot again. How have you been thinking about Jaden McDaniels in the last 2 games that you've seen? Because he's gotten some extended playing time.
He looked much better. I mean, the couple games before tonight, he looked much better. Tonight, he seemed a little off. He had some bad fouls, not boxing out, stuff like that. But like, he's been great energy and in general, a little more controlled energy than Jared Vanderbilt. And I mean, he's had some amazing blocks. He had a game a couple games ago. Didn't he have like 4 blocks? Like, and some really good ones, like some humiliating, in theory, game-changing blocks. When there's like you're down by 8 and someone just gets one of those blocks into the stands.
Yeah.
It was one of those. And we didn't win the game, of course. But, I mean, he's got that kind of energy and he needs to bulk up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he can also hit the 3 ball. Like, there's few Wolves shooters in Timberwolves history where when they get the ball on the 3-point line, I'm like, take it. Let's do this. And teams don't really know about him yet. It seems like he's not on their scouting report. So at least 2 times a game, he seems to get those open like corner threes or something like that. And I think that's going to get shut down as the season goes on. And they realize this guy can shoot. He's got a nice stroke.
Yeah. I have been impressed by his shot, but mostly by his defense, his energy. He certainly hasn't been afraid to man up and get in somebody's, arms up, play some strong defense. That block he had in the first game against the Warriors, where it was just a clear swat into the stands, was awesome. And we don't have a player that can play defense like that other than him and Vanderbilt, but he's different than Jared Vanderbilt,
No, I mean, I think some people were like, talking down to the Wolves about drafting him he was like the 28th pick in the first round, right? Something like that.
I believe we got him because we traded that pick and then moved back a little bit and got him from the return pick.
But I mean, in theory, he looks like a proto Robert Covington, but even a little bit taller. Like he's got to put on some muscle, but he could be a great 3-and-D wing. He'll hit the shots. He'll lock down, defend. He's got a ways to go, but I think he could be there in 3 years,
Right. I do too. He's been a bright spot for sure, getting the minutes to play with. And that's fun to see. We could see a lot more of them if we keep having to play these young guys. The other player that I do want to talk about is Naz Reid. He's one of my favorites on the team, but he's been getting starting minutes at center while Cat's been out. He's been playing great. He was 19 points tonight. Is that what he had to finish with?
That sounds right.
Regardless, I mean, he's an offensive presence. I'd like to see more defense out of him, like rebounding wise. He seems like he has more he could give us off the boards.
In some ways, Cat is a much better finisher, but Naz might be better at taking dudes off the dribble and getting open. Cat kind of has his Cat can go fast sometimes, but in general he's got kind of like a slower drive, but he uses his body well, gets to the rim and finishes. Naz will go past big dudes. When he's got a big man on him and he's about 15 feet away from the hoop and he turns towards them, you're like, all right, he's going to the hoop. He's going to get in there. And he doesn't always make it. He's got to work on that, but it's pretty impressive for a big man. And he had that crazy block tonight that almost took him out of the game.
He hurt his wrist on that block, and I thought he was going into the locker room. It scared the shit out of me, because if we lose a presence like that, this team is done for, right? From what he's been providing, that scared me, but he's held in there.
Yeah, it was just about to be Ed Davis for 42 minutes a game.
Right. What would they do?
Like, that would be bad. And this is another thing that I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but like, why do we keep giving Ed Davis, like, we keep running these handoffs with Ed Davis 28 feet from the hoop?
Yeah.
He can't dribble one dribble. Why is he in that action? I get that you want him out there as a screener because you might want like D'Lo on the other team's big man. That makes sense, right? But like, we keep running handoffs with Ed Davis, and if our player can't take that handoff, he's just stuck and he can't dribble anywhere. He can't make a dribble 28 feet from the hoop. So it's like, why are we running this action? Use anyone else. Use Vanderbilt. Use anyone. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And he's just constantly out there. And I think they're wanting to leave the paint open, but teams are still walling us off. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about it on the broadcast tonight. They're walling off the paint, and they're just saying, shoot it. Go for it. And we need to be able to take that and hit threes. And, I mean, at this point, like, we shot 40% tonight. I mean, obviously it was the Warriors, so they shot 44. But you got to be winning games when you're shooting 40% from three at a league average rate, like number of threes, I mean.
Well, yeah. They've been challenging us to beat them with the three ball because we've been shooting it so poorly lately, right? So I think the teams going forward, if Carl's not in the lineup and D'Lo isn't in the lineup, yeah, they're going to let us shoot the three all day because they know we're not going to hit it at a high enough rate. Especially regardless if you're playing the Warriors or any other team. I think that's a strategy they're all going to come at us with.
Yeah. Well, and you look at the fact, too, is like, I mean, that's part of the reason every team's been packing the paint. But, like, we were talking about the good sides of Edwards earlier. And the downside, I mean, this was after last game. So I think these numbers improved tonight. But during last game, they said that Edwards was 25 of 63 on layups.
That's bad.
That's for the whole season. And,
yeah.
I mean, you've got to be finishing 60% of those shots. Like, and Saunders talked to him a couple games ago, and he's definitely going for more dunks now, which is a good thing. Because I want that prime Andrew Wiggins. If you can't finish with a scoop or something, like, you are fast enough, strong enough, and big enough to dunk on anyone. So just get in there.
And that's the easiest shot in basketball to make. You got to make that at a lot higher percentage than what he's been doing. But he's not afraid, and it certainly isn't stopping him from taking to the rim. So,
but I mean, he's got the big enough body too, where like some players, they struggle early on in their careers when they're young because they're not big enough. So they get to the rim and they can just get bullied around even if they're not fouled. Edwards is big enough to do it. But on the note of layups too, I wrote another note. I think he's amazing. This is actually a bright side, but J-Mac, Jordan McLaughlin, makes some crazy layups in every game. In every game, he makes at least one, not a couple. And he's in traffic. He's 5'11", just weaving through people. It's amazing. But my question for you is this. Has J-Mac ever made a layup without falling down? He falls down.
Probably not.
He's just like stretched out, falling down in between a bunch of 7-footers, but he's always on the ground, especially when he makes it. It feels like if he doesn't fall down, he doesn't make it.
No, I agree. I can't think of a time I've seen him like do his fast streak through the lane for not an easy layup and not fall on the ground. Like if he stays on his feet, he's in the third row or the banners that are up. So he does probably end up on his back after every layup he's ever attempted.
Not tonight so much, but like in that last Warriors game, it happened like 4 times where he makes this shot and somehow he's like laying next to the camera guy on the floor.
I can see that. He is a bright spot. Do you think he's actually earned us more time over Ricky Rubio? Because I like his offensive game far more than Ricky, and when you're playing from behind, you
Yeah.
might as well keep him in.
Yeah, I mean, I think teams actually respect him. He's just so fidgety. He just weaves through everyone, and he can get the kickouts too. Like, he's not bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Ricky's going to rebound,
I do
but
too.
and Ricky's a much better defender. But yeah, it's just been a bad couple of weeks for Ricky, and I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, I think he's a little frustrated too because he was on that Suns team that looked so good in the bubble and almost made the playoffs last season. And then he comes home and he's excited initially because he did like Minnesota. And on paper, it looked like maybe we would improve. And then it's just been bad game after bad game. Who do we play next?
We play the Clippers, I believe. Let's see.
Oh, boy. That could be bad. You know, Garrett, what's going to happen is exactly what I said. We're finally going to be at full strength right when our schedule gets to the hardest point.
Possibly.
I mean, we had such an easy schedule on paper to start the season. In general, not every game, but and at full strength, I still say I think we're at least playing 500 ball.
And that could be why they've had D'Lo sit out during the easiest part of the stretch. Not the easiest, the last two games, but like you said, if we're hurt, maybe lose these games, and then it's an easy decision to just wash the rest of the season if Cat doesn't come back soon, and we lose another week, because we have to realistically, I think you got to call it. You're not gonna do anything in the West if you're 30 games out, man. You've only won 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is there's so many teams in both conferences right now that are like 6-8 or 8-6, and in reality, we're 4 or 5 games back from the middle of the pack making the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, all it would take is a hot stretch. It's just a shame that we've been so unhealthy when we're playing average to bad teams predominantly, because that's going to change. And they just had an article in the Ringer today about it, like who's had the easiest schedule, the hardest schedule, all that. And here's one for you. The Lakers haven't had the hardest schedule so far, but they have one of the easiest going forward. And obviously part of that is because they don't have to play themselves.
Yeah.
But that's a crazy stat to think about because they're the top of the league right now and absolutely dominating. They lost tonight, but it was a close one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd like to see something happen. I'll tell you what, I feel like there's just a need to make a trade for the team leading up. If you can get in on as part of a 3-team deal for the Bradley Beal trade that's going to happen to somebody, I would be that third trade, try and get a first-round pick back, or you got to throw somebody in to get something that's going to help you more. Is that a Nakogi? Is that a Culver? I don't know.
So I was just looking at my notes. Did we talk about the Pelicans game last time? I don't think we did.
Let me think. I don't remember, dude.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I wrote some funny notes. I mean, one thing is Jaden McDaniels had a really good block in that Pelicans game against Zion. That was pretty sick. But the other note that I wrote is there was this moment where Ricky Rubio was shooting free throws, and you could hear JJ Redick. Another time you could hear the sounds. And Rubio, I should have said this earlier when you were talking about his shot. He put it straight at the hoop, and you could hear JJ Redick go, "Ha ha ha! A little less arch on that next time, bud. Got to line drive it." It was pretty funny. I mean, even though I was like, shut the hell up, JJ Redick, it was pretty fun.
That's funny. JJ Redick isn't seeing too much time on the court nowadays, so I guess he's got a lot more
He's on
time
the
to
trade
talk to him.
block.
Yeah.
They put him and who else that's good on that team?
Lonzo.
Yeah, Lonzo. I mean, Lonzo's okay.
Is he okay? I don't think he's okay. I mean, he's not that great. He's not that bad.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a above average defender.
Yeah.
Like he can't shoot, so he's just another. I'd get rid of him too. Redick will go to a contender. It's crazy to think about. You know this? Redick didn't miss the playoffs in his entire career until last year.
Yeah. He was always in the playoffs.
I mean, he's just a great piece.
How many playoffs did he go when he was with the Magic? Was that when they had Dwight Howard? Like, he was there.
But he was on.
They drafted him.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the Clippers for at least 4 seasons, right? 5 seasons?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I want to say
he was on the Magic for a long time.
Yeah, and they had Dwight Howard.
He was only on the Bucks for 1 season. Then he was on the Clippers for 4. 76ers for 2.
Yep. 2, 3. And the Pelicans, was he on the Pelicans last year as well?
Yes. And that was the first year he missed the playoffs. And they, going into the bubble, it looked like they were going to make the playoffs. And they just sucked.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Pelican game was awful. I don't think Lonzo Ball's that great. Eric Bledsoe's much better.
Bledsoe he can play in the regular season. He's a great defender, but it's kind of like Kyle Lowry a couple years ago, when Kyle Lowry could be so good in the regular season and then he would just disappear in the playoffs. And then he seemed to crack that like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And then they won the title, obviously. But like Bledsoe's like that. You get him to the playoffs and for some reason he just can't do anything.
Yep.
It's strange because the Bucks were so good last season in the regular season.
Well, we're getting off topic. I don't really care. The Wolves really should be a lot better. Maybe not as good as the Bucks. But the Pelicans was a game they could have won.
They could have won either of these Warriors games too, in my mind.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm trying to verify what the next game is. Next game is Friday night. It's against the 76ers at 7 p.m.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, that's a tough game to have to play with. I don't know how about that.
It's going to suck if Karl can't play because remember they got in the fight last season?
Yeah, it's always fun to watch Karl and Joel Embiid go against each other and just...
I wanted to go to the next game where he came and just harass his ass from the sidelines. Yeah. Like I was going to be the loudest person in that stadium. You were going to hear me on the broadcast, even with a full crowd. And because, by the way, Cat won that fight. That is not a question. Like, it took multiple people to pull Cat off. And then Ben Simmons was on his back, and people were, like, tweeting pictures of that. And it's like, first off, those two are friends. Second off, Simmons is just trying to break up the fight, and Karl was already taken down by 3 other people who weren't Embiid, who got taken down by Karl, and then was over on the sidelines. And Embiid won the Twitter war. He was funnier online afterwards, but Karl won that fight.
Yeah.
And that was cool to see because Embiid looks tough, but he's kind of a pussy.
Well, you should tweet him that. We'll send him that clip.
I mean, the thing is, you probably could get a rise out of him. Embiid's pretty easy to get riled up on social media.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree. That would have been a fun matchup to watch, dude. To see those two go against it. Now does D'Angelo play? Is it gonna be a whole week he gets off for rest?
Well, especially with this new Carl that we have seen in limited minutes this season, who's like playing defense and looking a little bit tougher and complaining a lot less. I want to see that guy go against Embiid.
Yeah.
Beat his ass.
Yeah. That'll be fun. It's a home game, 7 p.m. We'll have to watch it.
Cool.
Yeah, then they go into the weekend and play the Cavaliers, dude. So I don't know if that gets any easier with the way the Cavaliers have been playing either. It's a tough road ahead of us.
Sexland. You know their backcourt. People call them Sexland.
Yeah, what a great nickname. It's exactly what you think about when you think of Cleveland. You think of Sexland.
Sexland.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I probably got to hit the hay.
I got you. Hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for talking some Wolves. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a good one.